Now I would like to welcome our speaker tonight is Jen Baker, our Land Trust Manager. Jen has been a volunteer with the Hamilton Naturalists Club for over 15 years and has served as the only staff person since 2008. As the Land Trust Manager, she works to secure natural lands for permanent protection and helps to steward the HNC nature sanctuaries with a focus on protecting species at risk. She coordinates the HNC popular hands-on education program. I think you've heard about that at the Wood Duck, and where she teaches students about local wildlife and gets them out into nature. She also works to secure important natural lands with the Cootes to Escarpment EcoPark System and Hamilton Conservation Authority. Prior to joining HNC, Jen worked at Ontario Nature for almost 10 years in a variety of roles, including Boreal Program Manager and Nature Network Manager. Jen enjoys being outside as much as possible, whether it's running, trekking in Machu Picchu, is that how you pronounce it, and hiking Gros Morne or paddling the Quiet Lake. And I think we've all seen Jen out in all the many programs, so please help me welcome Jen tonight.
So is that working? Okay, awesome. Because I feel like whenever I'm back there, you guys can't see me because I'm little. I know you can hear me. So thanks for having me. Just to add to that list, I also like to pretend that I'm a biologist in the winter and that I need to get out to the nature sanctuaries because we're into that season now. So tonight, I just wanted to I guess, share some stories with you about what the Land Trust program has been doing and what myself and our team have been working on. So first, and with our nature sanctuaries, I should say, I'm kind of lumping everything together. So our urban naturalization work that we have going on in Hamilton, as well as our traditional, more natural nature sanctuaries. So I was just wondering, how many of you have ever been to one of our urban or rural nature sanctuaries? Hands up. Okay, awesome. So how many of you have been to like our traditional nature sanctuaries? Okay, and then how many for our urban nature sanctuaries? Okay, that's awesome. So for those of you who haven't been, and for those of you who haven't been to our urban sites, part of my job tonight is to show you how fantastic these spaces are for critters, kids, and everybody else. So you guys will want to come out and have fun with us too. That's part of what I'm hoping to do tonight. So yes, so I'm thinking that my email is just going to go crazy tomorrow with everybody saying, Jen, I want to come out. So, and we're going to Spooky on Thursday. So really just to get people seeing how fantastic these areas are. For lots of the critters, you're going to hear lots about pollinator habitat creation. And for kids who like being out in nature, whether it's like in downtown Hamilton or at a Mallow or at Spooky. And then, so I'm kind of using a bit of a stereotype because it really works for my story, so please just run with it. Big burly guys who like the flowers, and I have a story about that. So there's a reason for that. So please just run with the stereotype for my story. So I'm hoping that all of you guys will see how fantastic they are and that you'll want to come out. And a lot of what we do for our properties, so we work to protect land, because that's the best way to make sure is if we buy it or if we have it donated or whatever, that's the best way to make sure that it's still there. And in the city, well, it needs a lot of help. So a lot of what we're doing is bringing nature back to the city of Hamilton. Whether it's through pollinators or trees or whatever, ultimately that is what we're doing, is working on bringing nature back to the city. So So we have our pollinator corridor, so working on building Hamilton's pollinator corridor is part of what we do. Throughout the Trees Please project, work to improve our urban forest, and then with that help to improve our air quality, which for Hamilton residents is something that is, very much at the front of our minds. Enhance the habitat at our nature sanctuaries in some cases. Teach kids about nature, get kids out in nature, and then kind of underlying all of it is to get money, which kind of allows all of it to happen. So that's kind of an ongoing activity that we need to do. But generally, those are kind of the activities that we work on through the Land Trust program. So I was going to throw in some trivia, because a lot of what I do is education, whether it's big kids, little kids, a lot of what I do. So we're just going to see how knowledgeable you guys are. And like we tell our groups, this is you guys answering. You don't need to talk to your neighbor. You don't need to disrupt anything. It can just be hands up. So for this one, how much of Canada's total land area makes up the Carolinian zone? So hands up if you think it's 1%. Okay, 5%, 8%, or 2.5%. Okay, those of you that said 1% were right. That's what it is, and good job, everybody. So now for this one, because again, you don't need to talk to your neighbors, you can just do this on your own. True or false, what you can do is put your hands up in a circle if you think it's true, and hands up in a big X, no, it's not true if you think it's false. So 40% of Ontario's rare flora are restricted to the Carolinian zone. Is that true or is it false? Yay! Good job! Yes, it is true, and a big chunk of those are species at risk, which is why so many of us spend so much time working on protecting areas in the Carolinian zone. It's also where we happen to live. Okay, so our pollinator project. I know lots of you have heard a lot about this. I don't mean for you to read all of this. This is an infographic that we did to kind of update folks on our project. So when you're looking at it online or in print, then you can read it. But basically, just to walk through it, what we're working on is creating pollinator habitat, for those who don't know, working on creating pollinator habitat across the city. So that basically, so a bee can travel across the city happily, pollinating along the way. And so through that, there's lots of different activities that we do. So we get lots of volunteers to come out. I have a map that shows how much habitat we've created and how much the corridor has been built. We plant in parks and schools and places of worship. And recently, this year, we have some corporate partners I'm going to talk about in a bit as well. So we're super excited about that. We have tons of funders helping out. We've spread a lot of seed. Braun mentioned that Brenda wants some seed. She's actually a woman who lives in downtown Hamilton that is determined to guerrilla garden all of downtown Hamilton. We've built hundreds of bee boxes. Our Monarch Awards, celebrating sustainable gardening. Those awards entrants have gone up. And a little story about that. This year, because we always want something nice or a nice event when you're giving people an award. So this year, it was actually the mayor who gave out the award in his boardroom. And then it was recognized at a council meeting. And I wasn't sure, people really going to care that this is how they're getting their award. People appreciated it so much that it's, before council, then it's recognized by the whole city. So we were really happy that we were able to facilitate that and make that happen. And the Mayor Fred was so into the project and what folks were doing and what residents were doing that really helps the common good, that it's going to be, that's what we do every year, is give out the awards at a council meeting. So we're pretty excited about that. And so that's kind of the general update about the pollinator project. And this is a map that shows our corridor. So the brown pins are folks that just plant pollinator-friendly plants. So they plant, they garden with native plants. And that's really how our pollinator corridor is being built. Because I can only take care of so many sites myself. So really, it's just letting people know how they can go about doing it, giving them the tools, having native plant sales, so you actually have access to native plants, and then our other sites that we have planted as well. So since we're creating a pollinator corridor, it's definitely going to make our critters happy, because that's why we're doing it. Kids love planting. It is unbelievable how much kids love planting. Even when it's hard planting, if you ever need 2 yards of mulch, it is like 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Topsoil, they just love it. So we know so we have appreciation from the critters that we're making the habitat for, the kids, kind of exposing them to some nature even when it's in the middle of the city. And then here's my big burly guy story. So it was a big burly guy. I was at Lands Inlet, and I'm like, oh no, I hope he's not coming up to complain, which I've never had, but I always worry about, because it's a really big site for those of you who haven't been there. And his big dog, and I can say his big dog because I was petting the dog and the head was here. And he said, this site has amazed me all year. So every time I come, there's something different. So here's this guy that you wouldn't necessarily think of was noticing the flowers. He was noticing the flowers. He noticed the brown-eyed Susans bloomed for like months, which they did. They just didn't stop. He noticed that we had New England aster. I don't even know where it came from, but we had New England aster. We had some asters that just popped up all over this site. Seems like out of nowhere this year. And then the sky blue aster. You know the names, but whatever, that's kind of irrelevant. But he noticed that it was different. So we know people are appreciating it, that we're doing this in their neighborhood. If one person comes up to you, there's probably a whole lot of other people that really like it and that really value it, that just, you only hear from the complainers, and we haven't gotten any complaints, but it was really nice to hear how much it's being appreciated, at least by this guy. So it was just nice to hear. So then our Trees Please project. So Hamilton's tree canopy, it's about 18%. I actually think that's kind of generous. And we want it to be at least 30 to 35. Really, it should be more than that. And so with this project, what we're doing with Environment Hamilton, and the Pollinator project is also in partnership with Environment Hamilton, is looking at an inventory of our urban trees in certain neighborhoods and kind of studying the health of the urban trees. And then at the same time studying the air quality. So looking at how can we improve the urban forest for all of the benefits the trees give us, while at the same time improving air quality. And looking at, we could use a whole lot of trees and a whole lot of Hamilton, but where can we get the biggest bang for our buck for strategic tree planting? So that's what the Trees Please project is, and we use this fantastic software. It's called OpenTreeMap. So you guys could go on OpenTreeMap and check out the Hamilton map, and you'll get this. And each of those dots, so there's thousands of dots in there. Each dot represents a tree. So our volunteers go out with their iPads, so you can enter the data live. No more sitting on a Friday night with your Excel spreadsheet. You can't read the numbers and trying to get, So, and they collect about 25 pieces of data per tree and go around the neighborhoods. And then at the same time, there are quality volunteers that have air quality monitors and GPS units collecting the air quality for the neighborhood. But for the open tree map, one of the really great things about this software is that you get the eco benefits. It calculates this as you go. So these are the neighborhoods, so you can kind of see some of the individual dots a bit better. Somebody can go up to their tree and on our map and look at what are the eco benefits that their tree is providing. So these are the two neighborhoods that we did this year. Both of them are kind of downtown and East Hamilton. Very different neighborhoods, and then a bunch of different volunteers, which is great to have out. We inventoried about 2,200 trees. So our goal was 1,000 trees per neighborhood, so we surpassed that. And this is kind of what, there are more trees than this. This is just what they were able to get this year. And kind of through that, then we're kind of extrapolating to kind of guess at what the tree canopy might be. Yeah.
Just a question.
Yeah.
The other tree you recognize by pointing at the map alone, or does it need a tag of some sort to identify if you come back to it in the future or something?
No, it's all on the map. So if you know if it's been inventoried, you just have to go to the map and click on the dot for that tree.
Tag on the tree
No. Yeah. And so to kind of show a bit, we're working on our mapping. I need to say a big thanks to Rick Woodworth from the Hamilton Conservation Authority, who comes into the office every couple of months to teach us. We're not very great with technology as it is, and he is very patient, and he works very hard to teach us QGIS. We're getting there, we're getting better. So next time I'm here, hopefully we'll have some better mapping for you. But this kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at with the air quality. So, red is bad. And in the inhale map that Environment Hamilton uses, you can see the gradient. So this is north end of the Crown Point neighborhood, kind of close to industry. So you can see there's a bit of a greenish tinge here. Trees are helping to protect the air. But you can see from this that we need to look at areas that we can plant trees to help create a buffer along here to help collect the particulate. So in particular, what we're looking at with this is trying to collect that really tiny stuff that you can't see, because that's the stuff that really likes to lodge deep in your lungs. And so here, if the wind is coming this way, all of this is coming into these guys. Or if it's going this way, which is from this area is what it usually does, then it's landing on the beach strip residents. So then we want to get some trees planted over here. So this is what this project provides us. It also helps to increase the conversation about trees and urban trees, the benefits of trees, and where we can plant them, and kind of get people asking for them. We've created an air and tree task force with some other ENGOs as well as lots of city departments to look at. Through them, we've now done 3 community plantings. They've planted like 1,200 trees, and just look at kind of improving some of the policies and stuff like that. So that's a lot of what is good about these kinds of projects. We have a focus like this, is it does just help to increase the conversation in the community. Okay, more trivia. So how many caterpillars, so different species, does an oak tree support? So is it 100, 245, 557, or 612? What do you guys think? Okay, so 100, hands up if you think it's 100. Hands up if you think it's 245. I mean, I'm not going to grade you, so you can take a guess. Hands up if you think it's 557. And hands up if you think it's 612. Okay, so a lot of you guys were close. It's 557. So this is, how we have like superfoods like kale and stuff like that, they say is a superfood. This is kind of like a super tree. So just, if you can plant a tree, plant an oak. So, going back to why it's so important and why we want you guys to come out. Okay, so if we're getting folks to plant trees like oaks, well, we know it's providing food for the critters, which is then providing food for the birds. Kids love trees, whether they like playing in trees, like studying the bugs on the trees, whatever. But we have the birds coming. So that should get you guys to come out to check out the birds that are in the city. I myself have seen a Cooper's hawk eating a starling in my backyard. And then during the Trees Please inventory, we've seen a ton of birds. So you want to come out and check it out. And then our education program. So for a lot of you, you guys have heard a lot about this and read in the Wood Duck and stuff like that. Basically, what we like to do is, at no cost, go into the classrooms, talk about something nature-related, and then go to a field trip, generally to our Mallow Nature Sanctuary. A program that we started this fall was lichen and how you can use lichen to determine how healthy the air is. The kids loved it. I heard from a teacher like 3 weeks later that his kids were still talking about it. And they were still looking at the lichen, and they noticed, because they would go out and look at the trees in the schoolyard if there were any trees, or in a nearby park or something. And they would see the lichen that was there, and they would notice that they didn't have any of the lichen that we were also able to show that shows super good air quality that we had collected from our nature sanctuaries. So they noticed that they didn't have that. So now they want to change it and make it better. So, but yeah, just fascinating. And I think I've talked before about how kids like binoculars, and I mentioned that again in a bit. So these little hand lenses, they were like all over them. This kept them busy forever. So we're definitely going to keep this program going. And then we have them planting. As I said, kids love planting. Love it. They can plant an empty pot, because we've had them try growing some plants from seed in the classroom. It doesn't always work. We just say it's slow, and it'll come. They still love just the act of planting. And then we want them to have fun. For those of you that have been to the Mallow Nature Sanctuary, or if you haven't been, this is some of the fun that you too can enjoy. It's a hill, but it's the mountain. It's the sand mountain. Kids hear about it. They're like, no, I heard about that and I want to do that. So yeah, they go home dirty. So that's we just like to run with whatever they're interested in and whatever they want to do, which one day, so this out of Mallow, we needed to water, so George turned on the water in the barn. We didn't have hoses long enough, but we had a whole lot of buckets and a whole lot of kids. They're like grade 2, 3, so they're still pretty little. And they loved it. They had a song. They made up a song for a work song. And they were just passing the buckets along. This is like their favorite field trip. You never know. Like it doesn't have to be like, full-on nature programming. It's just they had the best fun doing this. So, and I got my stuff watered. So, okay, and lichens, because we're really into the lichen thing. How many lichens have been identified so far in Canada? So hands up if you think it's 700, 2,500, 4, or 1,500. Okay, it's 2,500 so far. And then more, and then this is it for trivia. So lichens are made from a symbiotic relationship. So also through the education program, the kids will also get some language skills and some word skills. So symbiotic relationship where both parts help each other. So what else is a good example? So the pollinators in plants, stomach bacteria in humans, oxpeckers and cattle, clownfish and sea anemone, or all of the above. Yeah. Good job. Okay, and then we have the nature outings. So we do the classroom stuff partly to prepare, have a bit more controlled chaos when they get off the bus at Amalo. So this year we created, we created a nice big sign that is kind of our nature center without walls. So on the flip side of this sign, we're going to have a sightings board. We're going to challenge them, each group, you have to find at least 10 things. And for that, like a flower counts. They don't have to identify it properly unless they know. And you can see how big it is. There's one of my nephews. So it's a nice big sign. And yeah, slugs are a big thing. I don't know. So the nature sanctuary outings, going back to why you guys need to come. So big burly guys get to plant things or to build things. Or at least if you're in my family, you get to build things. Kids love it, have so much fun. We actually don't have water in the ponds anymore, but they still have lots of fun. And then it's a nature sanctuary, so the critters have lots of fun and appreciate it. And then our nature sanctuary stewardship, just a bit of an update on that. We've done a lot of planting. We don't always have a lot of planting at our rural and natural nature sanctuaries, but we've done a bunch of planting in the fields out of Mallow. We did a riparian planting at Vinemount, and then ongoing with Lands Inlet. And I threw this in because this is a really big site, so it takes up a lot of my time, so it really is like a nature sanctuary. And then other things that we do are hazard tree removal, tree maintenance, things like that, and conifer thinning. So conifer thinning at Spooky to help restore oak savanna habitat, and maybe, hopefully, someday at Amalo. Because at Amalo, there's one area that the trees are so close together, because that's what you did at the time, that there's only growth, they're like a foot apart, or half a foot apart. So there's only growth at the very top, so they look like tufula trees. So that's something that we're hoping to get to in the next few years. So that's kind of what we do. Some pretty fantastic spaces in the city and in nature, in our natural areas. So we provide for lots of critters. I'm kind of resting my case here, and kids who get out and who then love nature. I don't know how many hugs I've gotten. Thank you, Miss. Thank you, Jen, for doing this for me. And then my big burly guy, who, if he likes flowers, he's going to like being out in nature as well. So really, all we're missing is some of you. So I'm hoping that we can see more. I know lots of you guys have been there to many of our properties already, but we have lots of new things that we want to share that we've been able to do, and it'd be great to give you a tour. So that was kind of a bit of an update, but I thought you might also be interested in kind of how we do this. So this is rough numbers. Jim is our treasurer, way better at numbers than I am, and he will tell you that. This is very rough. This is my guess at what all of that I just mentioned cost us. So it's not a lot of money. We do this program with not a lot of money. It might seem like a big number, but just wait to see what we do with it. So where does it go? So it helps to support 7 people, 2 of which are full-time, and then the others varying levels of full-time. We planted 400 trees, 2,500 wildflowers. We purchased 150 trees and then gave them away. It's just, we do things a bit differently in Hamilton because we want it to be accessible to everybody. So there are we can't do like fee for service or anything like that. We want we give everything away. We created 34 pollinator habitats, inventoried over 2,000 trees, engaged over 1,600 kids. about 180 volunteers, 4 nature outings, 20 classroom programs, and 6 workshops. And that was just kind of off the top of my head. There's all the other stuff that we do that just kind of happens. So I just kind of wanted to give you some perspective on, we were able to do all of this, and we don't really cost a lot of money. So how do we do all of it? And what's some of the key to our success? Basically, I pull in everybody that I know to help out. So we are really lucky. Right now, we have a fantastic team in the office that work as hard as I do. We are really, really lucky with our staff right now. And just lots of people. I'm going to go through in a minute. We're so lucky to have very generous experts who share their time and their expertise and come and help out in lots of different ways, which is how we make it happen. Really, I just kind of wander around and I'm like the white hard hat, the guy standing around not doing much. That's me. Okay, so partnerships are huge, at least in my world. I couldn't do anything without our partnerships. So with our partnerships, we've been able to protect land, we've been able to create and restore habitat, and we've been able to teach students and get kids out in nature. I don't know that any of this would happen without our partnerships, small and large. There's a few that I really want to highlight with our new corporate partners for our pollinator project. So I mentioned, you guys saw the map, pollinator corridor. We're doing that with, it feels like almost all segments of our community. We have residents, we have community groups, we have park groups, we have faith-based groups, city hall, as well as city staff, just lots of people pitching in. So now we figure it's time for the corporate world to also jump on board and help out, whether it's to give us money to help us plant somewhere or to plant on their front yards. There's one front yard in particular I'd really love to plant, and that's the DeFasco front yard. So if anybody has connections, let me know. But this year, TerraPure came forward as one of our big partners for our pollinator project. So Upper Stony Creek, the work that we focused on was on the old landfill, now park. And with us, we created 4 big beds, best planting ever, 6 inches of triple mix, because Hamilton soil is awful, so it was a really nice treat for that. And they are so supportive and great to work with. I just want to mention, so lots of you guys here that my husband Rob helps out with a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, water trucks out of Mallow and just all kinds of stuff. He has not been to this site at all, because their guys just do it. And they use cedar to build my planting box, So these guys did a big job. We've worked to now build the pollinator corridor in Upper Stony Creek. They gave us some support so we could work with a local school who helped us plant there, and who also helped want to plant at their school. So then again, helping to build the pollinator corridor in Upper Stony Creek. The Port Authority, this was a new planting. We started small and plan to just keep expanding this site. And so what this is a good example of is that businesses, they don't have to suddenly open their doors because they created pollinator habitat. This is behind the security gate. So it's just to create habitat because habitat needs to be created, and then lots of promotion around it. So we kind of have a couple of different examples. We're just starting to work with the General Hospital. They want to plant I don't know if it's called a campus, but they want to plant the whole space. We're starting small with around their front door, which would be so nice. And they have a big tree planting plan as well. And then Waterford, so we have the lease agreement with them for our Vine Mountain Meadows Sanctuary, but I wanted to mention them because I had this idea that get some rocks like riprap size rocks, not the big armor stone rocks, but kind of size rocks, and put them in a design that you can then see from Google Earth, right? So at Land's Inlet, we're going to make it a flower and then plant different species within the flower. And then at our New York Boulevard site, where the city is letting us do whatever, as long as we don't interfere in like the mowing space, we're going to do a butterfly. So these guys, they're getting the rock, they're bringing the rock, and they're putting the rock in place. So again, another project that Rob and my nephews are not going to be involved with. So, so power of partnerships. We have our community partners, and I know there's going to be a lot of people that I haven't, in groups that I haven't added to this list, because really I kind of just engage. I try to engage with pretty much everybody that I see in lots of different ways. But we have our community partners, and all of this allows this to happen. And we have our smiling, happy volunteers. See how happy, see how happy everybody is. Very happy, doing lots of different things. So behind the scenes work, little things like putting up signs, things that you don't even think about. But we also have volunteers who are willing to lead workshops, like just for nothing, just to share their expertise. They're willing to practically organize and lead the workshop. And then these girls, so you have to be ready to think outside the box and kind of get volunteers where you might not be expecting. So these girls go to St. Marguerite de Ville, which is kind of East Mountain. And we have worked with this school for a couple of years. We did the Trees Please project with them last year when they were in grade 2. So they're all of grade 3 here. And St. M does this huge eco fair with like 800 students. And they pay for buses to get lots of the inner city students up to the school for the day. The idea is you set up games and activities and stuff like that for all the kids. It's like chaos, it's exhausting. And so Judy and I were there, and we had our trivia game and seed bowls as prizes. Well, these girls had been assigned to help us. They watched us for all of like 2 minutes, and then they took over. And they were like, you guys can go visit the displays. Like, okay, I guess we're getting in the way. There's some food over there. Why don't you go over there? They had rotating breaks so that they could cover and give each other a break so they could get around. It was fantastic. So we left. And then we kind of were close when we saw the first group of grade 8 kids who would be enormous compared to them. No, they kind of managed everything, made everybody wait in line. It was, so now what we're going to do is bring the stuff and bring our laptops and hide in a corner. So, I guess I've learned that there are some treasures out there. You just have to be ready to take them. And then our funders, this is some of our funders. Jim had the whole long list of our funders. We have lots of different pots of money, which is fantastic. It can be a challenge to manage, but it's fantastic that we have so much. And a lot of this is community support too, which is great. And then some of our plans going forward. The pollinator project, I didn't think that it would keep going like this, but I think it's fair to say that it's now a pollinator program, and it's grown up into a program from a project, so keep going on that. Keep working on the corporate engagement, because there's a lot of land out there that they have that we can plant. We're working on making our plantings even more functional. So we've seen people in Hamilton, they want to plant. They want to help out. So let's see, how can we make it even more functional and help to manage our stormwater as well? Kind of something we're just getting into. So looking at more rain gardens, so pollinator-friendly rain gardens, because we don't want to lose our pollinator habitats, and bioswales. So I am hoping 2018 might be optimistic, but that's how I am. I want to get a bioswale in a parking lot. And I have the parking lot in mind, and I've started talking to the city. We're working on improving our nature outing facilities at Mallow. So we're never gonna have like a building or anything, but there's still little things that we can do that I'll talk about in a minute, just to kind of make it nicer for everybody. And then we're lucky with the bequest that we got last year that we can improve and expand our program. So we're reaching out to more teachers right now. And it looks like we have a field trip on December 1st. So fingers crossed that the kids are dressed properly. We're working on creating a mural, so big mural as part of this York Boulevard planting with the students from Hess Street School, which is kind of kitty corner to where this site is. We do a lot of work with the kids from Hess Street School. And so this mural, it's actually just graffiti on the back of a shed right now, and it's near this site that I want to keep building on, where I want to create the butterfly on a rock and stuff like that. We're going to create a mural, so we stand alone and on city land, it won't touch the shed or anything, and then have it led by an artist, and then have the kids, so each kid will get their own piece of the mural, but have it led overall, so it'll still look like something. And hopefully, my track record holds true, that if kids are involved, it doesn't get vandalized. That's been my experience to date. So hopefully if it was the kids that did this vandalism, that they're not going to vandalize their new art. So that's what we're working on. I'm just waiting for a bit more funding for that. And then we're looking for more chainsaw volunteers. There's a whole lot of training and a whole lot that needs to go on, but I wanted to put it out there that this is something that we can use. Trail maintenance, clearing the conifer plantations. So just for folks to think about, and then you can work out the details, but just put it out there, and if you know anybody, then let us know, and we can kind of start the process for that. Another thing that I need, so this is improving the facilities, nature education decks. So this is out of Mallow, beside the big sign. What the kids are doing is creating artwork. And the tarp is good. It gives us somewhere to put our bags and stuff like that, so hopefully we don't go home with fewer ticks. And the tarp is fantastic, but when it rains, it creates puddles, which are fantastic for slugs, which is a good way to start the nature outing. Not so good for putting backpacks and butts and stuff. So we want to create nothing fancy, just something a bit off the ground. So that's one of the examples of things that we want to do at the property. And we have ideas around how to make that happen. And then where you guys come in. So, I mean, you can help us take down the whole conifer plantation, but really, I figured, I know some of you are in Burlington or not in Hamilton, but pollinators don't stop at the Hamilton border. They will leave Hamilton if the habitat is right. So, something that we ask everybody to do, I figured I'd put it out there for you guys as well. So plant your pollinator-friendly plants in your gardens. Part of our new stormwater management, disconnect the downspout. This is something that might be talked more about in Burlington. It is not talked about in Hamilton, which is crazy. And so basically, for those who don't know, the downspout is all the water that's collected on your roof, in your gutters, goes down the downspout. Some of those are still connected to our overtaxed storm and sewer systems. So it's adding a huge amount of water into those systems that are already burdened. So what you can do is disconnect it and funnel that maybe into your new pollinator-friendly rain garden, or a rain barrel or your garden or something, so that it's not just going into the sewer system. And this is part of the conversation that needs to happen in Hamilton with how all of us can help with stormwater management. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit in Hamilton on this. You can become one of our smiling, happy volunteers, because they all looked very happy, so you can become some of them. We're always looking for donations for things like the education deck or new binoculars. I'd also invite you to join us at our trivia night. It's not until whatever the Saturday around Earth Day is. You'll get lots of notice. but it's a really fun night of general trivia, so you can bring your friends and family, and it's a bit of a fundraiser. We have a bar, you can bring your own food, and just, it's a lot of fun, right, Peter? And you can meet my mom, because that's when she comes to visit. And you can visit us at our nature sanctuaries. So we really hope that you guys do come out and that you visit us at one of our sites. I'm still collecting binoculars. Thank you so much to those who have given binoculars already. I just wanted to put it out there that I am still collecting them. Kids love them. With this site in particular, I really noticed, maybe because it was kind of a grassy area, that this is where the kids took the opportunity to look at, like, you know, a square meter and all the bugs in the ground. They'll also use their binoculars to look at stuff in your hand, but they just have a lot of fun with them. So I just wanted to remind you of that. And I wanted to thank you. So thanks for letting me share my story about some of the stuff that we're doing at our properties. I hope you like it, some of the work that we're doing, because it is the HNC's Land Trust Program, and you know, I think most of you are HNC members, so I hope you like the work that we're doing. And thanks for letting me share my stories tonight.